Welcome into the Cowboys Report as Dallas does the thing they like to do, making moves late at night and me running the risk of waking up baby Olivia. Anyway, the report is that the Cowboys have agreed to a deal with KaVontae Turpin, the former TCU wide receiver, the USFL MVP of this year. We'll break down what's going on here. The news apparently broken by Aaron Dietrich, a sports director for KNOE8, I believe, which is, I think, a Louisiana Monroe area. He has done previous stuff with Turpin in terms of like interviews and stuff. I think Turpin's actually from the area, so I'm inclined to believe the report despite no other major Cowboys reporters or national guys reporting it. I am inclined to take it as the reality, but we'll treat it as a report just for now, since it's not like, Schefter or Archer or whatever. Turpin is a player we know the Cowboys have had interest in. He was a workout along with Malik Jefferson, who the Cowboys already signed about 2 weeks ago. Turpin, like I mentioned, was the USFL MVP. He was the leading wide receiver, 44 catches, 540 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also offers, this is important, punt return ability. We're 1 day through camp, and the Cowboys I don't think did much punt return stuff, but we knew that punt return was an area of concern. So from a chance of making the roster perspective, right? I actually think Turpin's got a pretty decent chance. The talent, as we'll get into later on in today's show, has never really been the question mark, I don't think, with Turpin, or at least not like having borderline NFL talent. There's off-the-field stuff that has prevented him from being an NFL player in the past. The report, by the way, and we'll get to this part now, then we'll spend more about Turpin and fit and all that stuff. The report says 3-year deal. And I know that might lead to some, wow, 3 years, things going to be great. Not really. Treat Turpin as an undrafted free agent. He has never played before in the NFL. He has never signed with an NFL team. So from a rights management, rights ownership perspective, the Cowboys have him for 3 years. This is no different than a UDFA, as they all do, signing a 3-year contract, because they can't reach the open market anyway from that standpoint. So Turpin is, if this is true, I totally believe it's a 3-year deal. That makes perfect sense from just a practical matter of the contract, because even if it was a 1-year deal, they'd have his rights anyway. So that's not really too much to read into from that part. I'm sure we have plenty of TCU fans in the comments section, and we're just Big 12 fans overall. It is the Dallas Cowboys after all. So our first question, then we'll go more in depth on this, is will KaVontae Turpin make the Dallas Cowboys 53-man roster? Y for yes, N for no. This will be our pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, that's perfect timing. Head down there, type in Y for yes or N for no. Let's focus on the positives here for Turpin, then we'll get into some of the off-the-field stuff I don't like at all. Turpin's a good player. I mentioned 44 catches, 540 yards, 4 scores in a smaller sample size for the USFL, shorter seasons obviously. Very undersized. He's like 5'9", like maybe 170, somewhere in that range. Undersized player, can play some slot for you. His biggest potential contribution will come as a punt returner. Now, he's also done kicks before too, but I think that gives him a real chance to make the 53-man roster as a result. His college return stats at TCU, 71 kick returns, nearly 2,000 yards, 1,185 yards, 1 touchdown. Punt returns, 52 for 741 and 4 touchdowns. The punt return value is very real there with KaVontae Turpin, and it gives him a real shot to make the roster. The Cowboys, when it comes to the receiving room, are a little thin, and I wouldn't assume that Turpin instantly becomes like wide receiver 3. That's asking for way too much for a USFL player, given that, there's going to be a handful of USFL players. Several of them signed, but there's going to be a handful, if that, who make any 53-man rosters this year. That's just the level of talent you're dealing with there. But he was good for the USFL. Had an awesome season, obviously, MVP, etc. But he's got a chance to make the roster because of the wide receiver room in Dallas. And the punt return spot is completely wide open. I don't think they had a great feel for it at OTA's minicamp. We've said before that Jalen Tolbert is likely your front runner, but he's also going to start for you at receiver. Maybe that's not the route you want to end up going. CeeDee Lamb, you do not want on punt returns. The combined other punt return experience of your healthy guys, it's like 0. Dontario Drummond made some punt returns in the past at Ole Miss. Like I think it was like 8 or 7 total, top of my head. But like he's hurt. He's on the pup list. So you don't have any even collegiately proven punt returners. Turpin is one of those players, so he'll at least have a chance to make it from that perspective. That one is going to be worth watching. So a late July signing does actually have a real chance, I think, of making the 53 purely because of special teams. We'll get to the negative side of this, I guess, in a little bit here, the off-the-field stuff. But I want you guys to grade the signing for me. Actually, I got ahead of myself there. Excuse me. If you haven't already, we'll do the grade the signing later. It's late, and Olivia kept me up. Hit the big red button. Obviously, I'm coming to you guys at home. It's very obvious to tell by the blank gray wall behind me and the weird lighting and everything and no graphics. But when news happens, we want to be able to get you guys the news. So at-home pieces are an easy way to do that. So if you want more videos, we'll be live tomorrow on the Cowboys Report. In theory, we'll have official news one way or the other from the organization. Hit that big red button and subscribe. Remember, a roster move will need to be made. Could be cutting somebody, would be pretty brutal for someone to have a day of camp and then get cut. Could be putting someone on the IR. Could maybe move like a Dontario Drummond to that list in the event that injury is worse than just early off-season pup, whatever. Maybe you move Damone Clark out there if he's not. I doubt he plays here, but Cowboys have held out hope. So we'll break it down. Hit that big red button and sub. All right, on to the negative side of it. The reason why KaVontae Turpin, who was good at TCU, had 650 yards, I think, his freshman year, or close to that number. Reason why it is now 2022, and despite being 2019 draft eligible, he's only just now getting a chance, is because he pled guilty in October 2018 to assaulting his girlfriend, which, by the way, is not the first time that he's had a criminal charge brought against him for battery of a household member. Happened in New Mexico, which was defined household member, but it was March 2018 in New Mexico, October 2018 for TCU. Kind of feels like it was the same, and I just don't care for bringing this type of person in. The witness told police that Turpin manhandled his girlfriend, grabbed her from behind with one arm across her neck, and dragged her across the apartment. You don't need to add these guys. You can find punt returners who don't beat women. I feel like that shouldn't be a high bar to clear, but this is not the first time we've had this conversation. We've done it with Josh Ball. I don't like having this conversation. I wish this wasn't part of the story for KaVontae Turpin, but this is the why he had to go the USFL route as opposed to getting even a shot as an NFL training camp way back when he was first eligible. So I'll wrap it up here in a second, but first grade the signing for me. A, B, C, D, or F. You can go a lot of different routes. Safe space to vent your frustrations or happiness one way or the other, but sound off for me in the comments. From a pure on-field perspective, obviously an A, right? If we ignore the off-the-field stuff, which I'm not saying to do, but trying to treat it somewhat separately for this part of the conversation. Obviously, you can't separate the two as far as I'm concerned. It's an easy, great signing. That's a good football player coming onto the roster, giving you a chance to make the team. USFL MVP? Sure, great move. Person-wise, I will just leave it as I hope he's changed. And that's not an issue ever again. And hasn't been an issue, I would hope, ever since the pleading guilty back in October 2018. So hopefully he's changed. It's not something I feel you always need to give a second chance to, but that's just me. So I'm sure we'll get more information tomorrow. Remember, Cowboys Report live Thursday, 3 p.m. Central Time. Subscribe if you haven't already for the breakdown of Turpin, and we'll do some training camp takeaways as well.